And we are live and in living color.
I mean, not live.
We are alive and in living color.
True.
I've had a rough day.
Yeah.
I guess for our little catch up portion of the episode, we had a death. Little Miss Mabel, the hedgehog, passed away yesterday.
R.I.P.
She was old, and I knew it was coming, but it's still a little tough. We buried her tonight in our little pet cemetery next to our chicken tahine. So I've got some little mushroom solar lights and a little sleeping hedgehog coming to put on her little grave.
Aww.
And then I'm gonna get some little fencing or something to put around them, or I want to get a dog tore up Tahine's little solar chicken light. So
what a bitch.
I know. So I want to get another one now that we're closing the gate and stuff. But yeah, so there's that. Let's see what's going on. I almost didn't survive the last full moon. That was crazy. I knew it was going to get crazy when I was at the grocery store and there was a crackhead playing a harmonica. Yeah, it was a lunar eclipse. It was like a harvest moon. It was crazy. It was so much going on. And then my neighbors are fighting. I had to call the police. It was insane.
Yeah. I was sitting here trying to think about what happened to you at that point. But
I should have known something was up earlier. So that Tuesday, Monday, I had gone to Walmart because the actual full moon was Tuesday, but the starting of the full moon was Monday. And I go to Walmart and there's 3 old ladies wandering around in the parking lot looking for their cars. And I was like, man, that's kind of crazy that there's 3 of them. I go to leave, there's a 4th. And I was like, what the hell's going on?
Sundowners.
It was in the morning.
Oh.
It was earlier in the day. It was noon. Well, then one of them, I think her husband parked and she didn't know where he parked. But I was like, what the hell's going on? Well, then we go to the grocery store and do our regular grocery shopping that evening, and there's a crack-headed lady with 4 kids. She runs to the car. She leaves one with a buggy full of groceries and runs to her car. We thought she was stealing. No, she was just taking all of her small children to leave them in the car.
What?
Yeah. And then she comes back, she left the teenager in charge of the buggy. And then they're checking out and we're are they playing harmonica music in here? And no, it was her husband or her boyfriend or whatever, her baby daddy. I don't know what the situation was. He's running around being a crackhead, playing a harmonica. We're leaving the store and I was like, is there a full moon or something? Look it up. Sure enough, we're right at the beginning stages of a full moon. And I was like, son of a bitch. Well, then the next day was insane at work all day long. And then I come home, I'm laying in bed. I had already taken my pills. I'm in my PJs, in my cozies, ready to fall asleep. And I hear it sounds like somebody's in my house. And I was like, what is going on? And then, because Daniel wasn't home, he was working on Isaiah's car. I think that's what they were doing. I don't know what they were doing. They might have been working on our car. I don't remember, honestly.
They were playing lightsabers.
No. Anyway. So, and it's 11:30 at night. And I'm like, what is going on? So I try to look out from the carport, but I was like, I don't want to peek out the front of the house and a bunch of people see me or whatever.
I forgot that they're family and it just registered to me.
I was like, I mean, they're not blood related, but they might as well be because they're exactly the same human being. But
I think Isaiah's weirder. I know he listens.
No, yeah, I think they're equally weird. They're both weird. Anyway, but I come back in, I peep out the front window, and somebody's getting the shit kicked out of them. I don't know who it was, but it's in my front yard. And I was like, I can't pretend I didn't see that. So I called 911. Next thing I know, there's 7 cop cars, an ambulance, an EMS truck, some lady screaming. Like, people are getting arrested. I don't know. Somebody done ran off in the woods. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if I can give the play-by. I still have the screenshot of the play-by-play I was giving to Daniel, because I had told him, yeah, I said, this full moon got people acting wild. I said, I'm in Connie mode posting up at the windows, which Connie is my Nana. And I said, number 5 just showed up. That's police. We got 2 girls in handcuffs so far. And this is like all continuous. Like, he hasn't responded to anything at this point. And then I said, mobile patrol going to be lit tomorrow. I said, ambulance just got here. I think the blonde that's been over there has been having something going on. She slid out of the back seat of the cop car. And I said, ain't no way you're getting in the driveway right now. Number 3 handcuffed, and the one girl in the ambulance is screaming again. And I said, I ain't seen hide nor hair of our neighbor. I'm not going to say his name. And then I feel like whatever was going on over there was a little more than a skirmish. And then eventually they all cleared. It was like an hour and a half and everybody cleared out. But I don't know. That was like, I can't.
Did you have to talk to the popo?
No, I stayed in the house peeping out the window.
I was like, did you at least have a bra on?
No, I was in the house in my PJs, my old lady PJs too. Because I found some old lady PJs at the thrift store and I was like,
doing it.
Yeah. But other than that, I've just been doing some scrapbooking. I'm partaking in a arts and craft challenge for the month. So I'm writing a poem for every day of the month based on that Sims streamer on Pixie that I talk about all the time. So far, I'm having fun with it. They're pretty funny. And my handwriting has gotten a lot of compliments.
Nice.
But
I've always had really pretty handwriting.
It's like somebody was like, oh my God, your handwriting's so nice. I was like, girl, it took years of practice. I was like, for whatever reason, when I was a little kid, I like hyper fixated on my handwriting and was like, it has to be perfect. And like,
I was always that kid. You remember back in the day, our report cards in elementary school had like, you got a grade on handwriting.
Oh yeah.
Mine was always a U.
Yeah. See, mine, like, I think I probably got a U and then became obsessed with it. And like, over the years, I've trained myself to, like, if I don't like for years, I wrote just an A, like a regular A, but I was like, I don't like this. So I trained myself to write it with the hook over the top of it. And the way that I write 4s, I didn't like the way that I used to write a 4 because sometimes it looks like a 9. So I practice writing it with the open top. So yeah, that's my autism. Plus, also, too, the type of ink pen you use very much counts.
Yeah.
Because, like, if I write with a regular ballpoint pen, it's going to look like shit. But if I use, like, a fine point gel pen, Chef's Kiss. It's amazing.
What's the TikTok? We've both got a touch of the autism, don't we?
Yeah. It seems we've both got autism, don't we?
My autism is slightly different.
Hey,
I hyperfixate on other things.
That's fine, because
this mic, I'm telling you what, but
it's like trying to hit you in the mouth.
This mother trucker. I saw a thing today, a TikTok, and it was like HOTTOGO, and then it cut to the old school teacher. Whoever threw that, your mom's a hoe. Also, that one I sent you where it was HOTDOGS, $1.50.
But like,
I've got another story to add on to that when you're done. Go ahead.
Okay. But I had like put in, because Chapel Roan opened up tickets for the Franklin show that she just had.
Happened.
And I tried to get 2 tickets and it just didn't happen. So, and I'm like laying in the bed and it's like midnight and I was like, I guess I'm not getting tickets because they were going to send out emails, if you got tickets. And Danny goes, HOTTOGO, you do not get to go. And I was like, you're a dickhead.
So we've been singing that HOTDOGS at the house.
Yeah.
So my oldest was like, what was it? YUMDOGS, so yum dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So Easton hears that, and Easton goes, he's, trying to figure out what she's spelling, and he goes, yum dogs. Oh, I bet they sing that in China. And I'm like, bro! Like, everything for him lately is China. I don't know. He heard somebody say that apparently they eat dogs and cats in China.
Oh, Lord.
So it's been a whole thing. I don't have much of an update, I don't guess. We've had a little bit of drama with the oldest, but, normal teenage stuff.
Right. I forgot about that.
It's been, I say normal. I feel like every most teenagers, I don't even want to say most. It is a normal, it's a common issue to have with teenagers.
Yeah.
I knew it would happen one day, but I still was not prepared. But, I'm not going to go into details because,
right.
But listen, keep me in your thoughts and prayers and good vibes and whatever that I make it through these teenage years with this one.
And you've got 2 more.
Oh, listen. So I really think, I was thinking about it the other day. So this one is she's my troublemaker. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's always something going on with this one.
True.
And so, and I think honestly, cause she is, I hate to say it, but she is a lot like me when I was her age. Like, right about her age now is when you and I met. Well, not met, but started being friends.
Yeah.
So think about how she acts and think about how I acted back then. And it's very similar.
Yeah, I could kind of see it.
But then she's also got a lot of her biological father's traits.
Stubbornness.
Yes. So it's a whole thing.
I said it, you didn't. So
yeah, well, like, apparently they let her get by with talking to them like she's a grown adult too. And we don't fly that way at my house. Yeah. And so that's been a whole thing. Like, she can't figure out,
she's having a hard time balancing.
Yes, because she'll say something and not mean it in a condescending shit way.
Yeah.
But I'm taking it as a condescending shit way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I told her to do something, or I don't know, there was something, she goes, well, I guess I just won't do this. And like, didn't mean to be an asshole about it.
Yeah.
But I flew off. I was like, that was a smart ass remark.
Right.
We're not playing that game. And we got into it last weekend about her mouth. And I was like, look, I'm going to let you know right now. If I spoke to my mother the way that you speak to me, I would not be here to tell the tale.
Yeah.
I said, as an adult, if I spoke to TJ's mom the way you speak to me, she'd rock my jaw.
Right.
And I'm like, and I'm telling you right now, when you're an adult, if you speak to me that way, I may very well rock your jaw.
Like, there's a difference between, like, being sarcastic and saying it in a joking manner, but...
Or just... she does it to be an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other way to... And if she's even realizing she's doing it. And so, we're having a hard time, because I have a hard time deciphering whether she's saying it to be an asshole, or if she's saying it and doesn't realize she's being an asshole.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get pissed either way.
Right.
Because you don't speak to your mother that way.
That reminds me of, like, we've been watching, I may have even mentioned this the last time we were together, but, like, we've been watching old home movies, and my dad brought us, like, Wisconsin tapes from when I don't know which Wisconsin trip it was, but my mom had the camera, and she's, like, walking around showing the neighborhood, and I literally she was like, she did this like jump cut where she like was on one side of the street and then she turned the camera off and walked across the street and then turned it back on and was like, wow, we're across the street. And you can hear me in the background go, you're stupid. I literally went, you're stupid. And I was like, I don't recall ever talking to my mother that way.
See, like, Maddie will say stuff to me, and I'm like, I don't ever remember speaking to my mom this way. But my mom assures me that I did.
Yeah.
I don't know.
See, we don't remember the worst things about ourselves.
This is true. It's been a lot. It's been a lot. We've had soccer. Soccer's been, for somebody that did not want to coach, I am having a great time with it.
Yeah.
It's been interesting to say the least. But I mean, other than that, I guess it's just been normal. I've got some trips planned in the near future, in the next month, ish.
I'm trying to think.
I'm going to Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm real excited about that. And then, which I'm not, I say I'm going to Vegas, and I know you as listeners are thinking, oh, gambling. No, listen, I may do Fremont Street, like, one night. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get, like, it's going to be a weekend thing.
Yeah.
So, like, when I get there Friday, we'll do that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do any gambling. I don't gamble. That's not me. That's not who I am. It gives me anxiety. I've gone to Kentucky Downs and done slots one time, and I lost $200 in 30 minutes, and I almost threw up. So that's
why, like, whenever I've gone to a casino, I'll literally take 20, maybe $40, and if I lose it, I lose it.
I would have had 5 minutes of fun, and then would have had to stand there and watch TJ for hours.
I don't know what he's cooking, but
I literally just thought the same thing. But so we'll do that, and then I think the next day we're planning on going like over to the Grand Canyon and seeing stuff like that.
Ooh, fun.
And then we're also, because I'm meeting him in Vegas, he'll already be there for a work trip.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having to fly out there myself. I've not flown since I was like 18. So I don't know how all this works.
I ain't never stepped foot in an airport.
Well, so he is taking me on a quick trip to New Orleans.
Yeah. And by quick, it's like a day.
Yeah, literally like 24 hours. Just to get me on a plane, get me there, get me back, and show me just kind of how it works.
Yeah.
So I know what to expect, and I won't, like, if I'm gonna have an anxiety attack, then at least I'll have him with me, and then I can gauge whether or not I need to cancel that Vegas trip.
I have some Boost Bar you can use.
Listen, my mom offered me something.
I have plenty,
and I was like, I have to be, like, especially to the Vegas trip, I have to be aware of where
you would be. You would be.
With yours, yes. But, like, I'd have to be aware of what I'm doing, where I'm going.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be by myself. Mm-hmm. And I can't rely on anyone else. Like, I can't look at the person next to me on the plane and be like, bro, I'm having a moment. Like, you're going to have to help me. Because I can't trust.
See, like, a Boost Bar is not going to make you groggy. Like, they told me, was it the last time I picked up my script? I don't know. Anyway, like, he was like, oh, be careful. It's got sedative effects. And I was like, I've been on this shit for years. Ain't nobody told me that. And I was like, is that why I'm so tired in the morning? Like, I'm not, like, drowsy and, like, can't drive or anything like that. But I just get kind of, just a little tired. But
I stay a little tired.
Exactly.
I stay a little tired.
So
I want to know.
But other than that,
how people who wake up in the mornings and feel like they've gotten a great night's rest and wake up feeling renewed and rejuvenated, how does it feel to be God's favorite? Like,
right.
I just need to know, because I could sleep for 12 hours straight, like, not wake up one bit, never moved all night long, and still wake up feeling like I haven't slept in 5 days. Like,
yeah,
I don't understand. I have been getting better. Like I was telling you, I used to be an energy drink a day type person.
Yeah.
But, like, an energy drink would take me all day to drink, because I just don't drink anything throughout the day.
Yeah.
I quit drinking them every day. Like, I haven't had one in like a week. And I feel like my sleep has gotten a little bit better. So maybe that had something to do with it. I did start noticing, and the reason why I started like really trying to back off of them was because after drinking them every day for so long, I felt like shit by the end of the day, every day when I drank them. Like by 4 o'clock, 3 or 4 o'clock, I needed a nap.
Yeah.
It was so bad. So we'll see if that changes with me coming off of them. Now I've started drinking coffee like a real adult. I feel like there was something I was going to say. I was going to tell a story I was going to tell, and I can't remember what it was now. Halloween decorations are up at my house. I think we're done with them. Those chicken wire ghosts that you see people make.
Yeah.
Don't let those people lie to you. They're not easy to make.
I was going to say, they look hella hard.
They're not easy to make. And like, I have zero interest in ever trying to do that again. I have a whole bunch of chicken wire left at my house. We bought a whole roll for this. Made one.
Have you tried making a lady?
No, absolutely not. Because making 2 legs and a body and 2 arms was enough.
Nice.
So now my little cemetery set up over there, we have Gravedigger. But, I do remember what I was going to say. So you guys have heard me talk about the Shane Dawson podcast and how much I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I had sent them an email back like mid-August. It was like August 14th, if we want to be precise about it, because they were talking about a conspiracy theory about the tracker app for Domino's.
Yeah. And
I had input on that, on how the tracker app is bullshit. And I sent an email to them about it, and it made this last week's episode of their podcast. So I was on the podcast. My name and my email was on there. Like, I wasn't physically there, and my picture was not shown, but I thought that was pretty cool. Nobody could tell me shit for a whole day. You got anything else to add?
No, I don't think so.
You want to tell the one story you said you were going to tell, or are you going to wait for the next one?
What was the one story I was going to tell? I don't remember.
About the things that you purchased.
Oh, yeah.
You want to say that for next?
So, no, I'll go ahead and do it. So, everybody knows I like to partake in a little bit of gardening, garden gummies. I stopped at a new place, and I got some Delta, I think they're Delta 9s. They're fine. They're all right. They do the job. And then I saw on the shelf something called the Final Straw. And I was like, that sounds interesting.
That sounds like that's for me.
I'll take one of those.
Not for me, personally.
2 gummies for $7.
Just 2 single solitary gummies? How big are these gummies?
They're, not very big. They're like a little bit, maybe the size of a quarter, but like thicker.
Two of those for $7?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
2 single solitary gummies.
2 single solitary gummies in the tiniest little pack. The big thing is $60. Or $50. I spent like $70 in there that day.
Judging off the small bit of the conversation that we had about it.
But it lasts me forever.
To the person that buys the big tub.
Mm-hmm.
Bless you.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with you mentally if you're going that hard.
Well, I get the Final Straw. Okay?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So I get it. And the guy looks at me, because they do sell it in bottles. Like, you can get it in a big bottle. And the guy looks at me and he goes, "How's your tolerance?" Because it's behind the counter, so I have to ask for it. And I was like, meh. It's so-so. And I do the little hand thing. And he's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, why not? And then the other guy in there who's buying mushroom gummies is like, I was down and out for 3 days when I took one of those. And he's like, I'm going to warn you. These are potent. And I was like, that's fine. I ain't got nothing going on this weekend. It's all right. Well, I bought them, and then I came home, and then I think Danny was going over to work on his car or whatever. He was taking our car and going to work on it. So I was like, I don't want to take it by myself if it's that potent. And then he wasn't home Saturday night either, and I didn't want to take it, so I took it Sunday night. Mistake.
The whole thing?
No. There's still like half of it, half of one in there, a whole one and a half of one in there. So I took like a quarter of it, and then we were going through his family photos and stuff because I wanted to get them off the kitchen table. And I'm like, it's been like an hour and a half and nothing's really happening, famous last words. So I go and take a little bit more. And right after I do that is when something starts to happen. And I start feeling he was like, it's not, he did tell me, he was like, it's not going to like be like anything too crazy. Like, you're not going to hallucinate or whatever, but you're going to be super relaxed. And I was like, cool, because I don't know how to do that. But I start feeling more relaxed and a little loosey-goosey. Well, the rest of the night is fine. Everything's fine. The experience was fine. It's the aftermath that was not fine. I think that like, it was probably half of the gummy. Factory reset my brain. For sure. I was out of it for like a week. I was like, and I literally texted my sister and I was like, you can have this when you come. You can have this because I'm done with this. She was like, it might kill me. She said her tolerance is really bad now, but she was like, I might die. I was like, I feel like I'm dying. I was like, I think this is it. Is this what the end is like? I literally, for 3 days, did not know who I was or where I was. Like, on Monday, I could not drive. Like, it was bad. Like, I'm sitting in here working, and, like, I was supposed to go do something. And I called, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to make it. I cannot drive. And I was like, I chalked it up to something else because this person doesn't know that I partake. But I was like, I'm just not feeling it. I was like, I can't. I was like, there's no way I feel comfortable safe driving. And safely driving. But yeah, so it's currently sitting in my freezer waiting for my sister to get here at Christmas. And no thank you. No thank you. Because it's not Delta. It's like THC-P or something. It's like Daniel looked it up and he was like, it's like medical grade. And I was like, no thank you. But see, my sister doesn't like the Delta stuff because of the hangover, effect that it has. And I was like, but I've been hungover for 5 days. I still feel like I have not caught up on sleep from that. And that was like 2 weeks ago. Anyway, what are we talking about tonight?
So I think we are talking about ghost stories.
Yeah, we're giving some cozy vibe. We want this to be like, so if we're now 30 minutes in, I'll probably put if you want to skip the chit chat, skip to 30 minutes if you want to get to the cozy part. So get your blanket, light a candle.
Initially we had said that we were going to wear our Halloween jammies for this.
Oh, I forgot. Mine have a hole right in the butthole.
Well,
so.
Mine I bought them too big. And the shorts are really short. And I didn't want to be prancing around your house with my butt hanging out in front of Daniel. So, because they really do be hanging out. And if I bend over, you're seeing all the goods.
Yeah.
Because they're like those really baggy. They're really comfortable. I wear them all the time. But
yeah, put on your cozy pajamas.
I really can't do those
get
glasses.
Cozy. And we're going to tell you some, what were we calling it? Slumber party style stories. Nothing too serious, nothing too scary. At least that's not what I have. I don't know what you have.
I really don't know what I have either, honestly. I do. Mine are kind of scary.
Okay, well, whatever. It's still a cozy episode. Mine aren't scary at all. So mine are like really relatively like kid friendly because these all come from like books I read as a kid. One of them might have some scary stories in it, but it was one of my favorites. But this book is my favorite. Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
It doesn't matter.
Well, I'm locked and loaded.
I'm locked and loaded. Well, yeah, I'm locked and loaded.
I'll go ahead and read my first one.
Okay.
I'm reading from the book In a Dark, Dark Room and Other Scary Stories. The first story is The Teeth. I was hurrying home in the dark when I saw a man walking toward me. Do you know what time it is? I asked. The man lit a match to look at his watch. It is 8 o'clock, he said, and then he grinned at me. His teeth were 3 inches long. When I saw them, I ran. Soon I came to another man. Why are you running? The man asked. I just met a man with teeth this long, I said. It scared me. My teeth are longer than that, said the man, and he grinned at me. When I saw his teeth, I ran. Soon I came to another man. Why are you running? He asked me. I just saw a man with teeth this long, I said. That's nothing, said the man. Did you ever see teeth this long? I took one look and I ran all the way home. That was it.
All of mine, I think all of mine are pretty short too. So this one is The Ghost of the Bloody Finger. In a small town not far from here, so these are like stories that you would tell around a campfire.
Yeah.
There was an old abandoned house. No one went near it because everyone said it was haunted. One day, a bunch of local people were sitting in a coffee shop chatting about bravery. One man in particular was bragging loudly. I'm not afraid of anything, he boasted. Oh yeah? Asked his buddy. I'll bet that you aren't brave enough to spend a night alone in that old abandoned house. The boaster didn't want to admit that he was afraid. So he agreed to sleep in the house that very night. At dusk, he arrived at the house alone. He checked every room and found nothing unusual. He chose an upstairs bedroom, spread out a sleeping bag on the floor, and tried to sleep. As he had just dozed off when he heard a faint noise from downstairs. He strained to hear what it was. It sounded like someone moaning these words. I'm the ghost of the bloody finger. I'm in the front hall. The man told himself that he was just imagining things. It must be the wind, he thought. But then he heard a bit louder. I am the ghost of the bloody finger. I'm at the bottom of the stairs. My imagination is running wild, thought the man. I'm just going to go to sleep, and it'll soon be morning. But then he heard even louder. I'm the ghost of the bloody finger. I'm at the top of the stairs. The man dove inside his sleeping bag, but he could still hear the ghost coming closer. I am the ghost of the bloody finger. I am in the upstairs hall. The man hid his head under his pillow, but he could hear the ghost coming even closer. I'm the ghost of the bloody finger. I'm at the bedroom door. The man was now shaking in terror. The door creaked open. I am the ghost of the bloody finger, and I'm in the bedroom. The ghost paused in the doorway. I am the ghost of the bloody finger. Do you have a Band-Aid?
Stupid. Let me see. See if I want to read this one. See if this one's stupid. It is. Okay. I'll skip it and read this one. I love this one. Once there was a girl named Jenny. She was like all the other girls except for one thing. She always wore a green ribbon around her neck. There was a boy named Alfred in her class. Alfred liked Jenny, and Jenny liked Alfred. One day he asked her, "Why do you wear that ribbon all the time?" "I cannot tell you," said Jenny. But Alfred kept asking, "Why do you wear it?" And Jenny would say, "It is not important." Jenny and Alfred grew up and fell in love. One day they got married. After their wedding, Alfred said, "Now that we're married, you must tell me about the green ribbon." You still must wait, said Jenny. I will tell you when the time is right. Years passed. Alfred and Jenny grew old. One day, Jenny became very sick. The doctor told her she was dying. Jenny called Alfred to her side. Alfred, she said, now I can tell you about the green ribbon. Untie it and you will see why I could not tell you before. Slowly and carefully, Alfred untied the ribbon and Jenny's head fell off into the floor.
I love that one.
That's one of my favorites.
Mine are all kind of, well, this particular what you call it, reference material. All of them are kind of like they're ones that you would tell kids.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this one. There was an old man who lived alone in a large house in the countryside. He always said he wasn't afraid of anything, but he kept a gun with him at all times for protection. One night, the man stayed up late watching a horror movie on television. When it was over, he climbed the stairs and went to bed. He was just beginning to doze off when he noticed something strange. In the moonlight, he could see something lurking at the foot of his bed. It looked like two big eyes staring right at him. The old man was scared and hardly dared to move. Slowly, he reached out and grabbed his gun, which was lying on the nightstand. The frightened man took aim at the ghostly figure and pulled the trigger. A shot went off and the old man let out an unearthly scream. That's literally the end of it. Oh, the poor scared fool accidentally shot off his own big toe.
This one feels too much like... No, this one should be okay. This one's called The Haunted House. There was a big old house where nobody lived. Everyone said it was a haunted house. I feel like a lot of these start off that way.
Right.
Let's go inside, David said to his sister Anne. We're not supposed to, she said. Don't be a scaredy cat, he said. It would be fun. At last, Anne said, okay. The illustrations in this one are really good, too. And I'll link all these books that I'm using. They're mostly kids' books that I had, checked out from the library. I've been on a quest to find some of my favorite, ghost story books from when I was a kid. Because I've always been this way. So, anyway. David and Anne walked through the empty, dusty house. There's nothing here, Anne said. Let's go home. Wait, said David. I want to see what is behind that door. David opened the door and walked into the room. Anne waited a few seconds and then she sneaked in after him. Boo, she shouted. David screamed. It's only me, silly, Anne said. I know, David whispered, but what is that behind you? That was the it.
Well. Okay. So let's do this one. I'll say that. A young couple moves into an old decrepit house. That's definitely a fixer-upper. While the husband is taking care of some construction, the wife is tasked with removing the wallpaper that decorates every wall and ceiling in the house. The task is incredibly boring and tedious at first, but she begins to find it super satisfying when she can peel off big chunks at a time. Think peeling, this says, think peeling a sunburn. I get that. I feel that.
Yeah.
Then she then discovers there's writing under every corner of each piece of wallpaper, a date and a name. When she searches one of the names and dates on the internet, it comes up as a missing person. She does more digging and finds that all the names and dates line up with missing people, so she and her husband contact the police. When detectives come over to investigate, she overhears one of them say, "Yep, that's definitely human." She's confused. What's human? And then they come over to her and ask, "Ma'am, where's all the material that you removed so far? It wasn't wallpaper."
Ooh. Susie. Mr. Smith sold cats. People came from all over to buy them. "Look at that beautiful cat," Nan said to her mother. "That is the one I want." She pointed to a cat sitting on the cash register. "What is that cat's name?" Nan asked Mr. Smith. "Susie," he said. "How much does she cost?" asked Nan's mother. "Susie is not for sale," said Mr. Smith. "But I want to give her to Nan for her birthday," Nan's mother said. "I cannot sell Susie," Mr. Smith said. "I will give you $50, Nan's mother said. "I could not sell her even if I wanted to," Mr. Smith said. Susie purred. Nan reached out to pet her. Her hand went right through the cat. "There is nothing there," Nan screamed. "I should have told you," said Mr. Smith. "Susie died a year ago, but she comes back to visit now and then."
Oh.
The illustrations in this book are just top tier.
All right, so this one. This is a story that I remember hearing and telling at sleepovers when I was little. A babysitter has been hired to watch 2 children for the night. After she puts the kids to bed, the parents ask that she watches TV in their bedroom upstairs because the children have been having nightmares recently. She puts the kids to bed easily enough and settles in the parents' room to watch TV. But in the corner of the room, there's a large, life-size clown statue. She tries to ignore it, but it's just too creepy. Finally, she calls the dad to ask if she can watch TV downstairs instead. "Sure, but why?" he asks. She tells him that the clown statue that they have is just creeping her out too much. He then pauses. "Get the children and leave the house," says the dad. "We don't have a clown statue."
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, brother. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, this one. I remember this one. A little green bottle. Kate was the biggest bully in school. She liked to pick on Joe because he was so small. "Joe, give me your lunch," Kate would shout. Joe would be so scared he would hand it right over. But one day Kate said, "Joe, give me your new bicycle." Joe was so upset he told his teacher. Kate got into a lot of trouble. "I'm going to get you for this," Kate told Joe. But Kate never got the chance. She suddenly got sick and died.
Oh, okay.
The day after she died, her ghost whispered in Joe's ear, "I'm still going to get you." Kate's ghost began to haunt Joe. It hid in his desk at school and whispered scary things to him. It jumped out at him from behind trees. It made horrible faces at him at night. One day while Joe was eating, the ghost rode his bicycle back and forth across the table. "Kate, please stop," Joe begged. "Never," the ghost screamed. "It turns itself into an angry bull." "How did you do that?" Joe asked. "I can do anything I want," said the ghost. It got bigger and bigger and bigger. Soon it filled the room. That gave Joe an idea. "Kate," he said, "can you make yourself very small?" "Of course," said the ghost. Joe pointed to the little green bottle on the table. "Can you make yourself small enough to jump into this?" he asked. "Of course," said the ghost, and it jumped into the bottle. Joe grabbed a cork and pushed it into the bottle. Then he threw the bottle into the river. The river carried it to the ocean, and the bottle floated away. Kate's ghost has not been heard from since. But if you ever see a little green bottle washed up on the beach, do not open it. Here's the illustration.
Cute. All right, so this next one. A young woman is driving home late one night when she notices a truck driving up directly behind her. No one else is on the road. She waits for the truck to pass her, but instead it stays directly behind her and flashes its high beams. She becomes unsettled. No matter how fast she drives or which back roads she heads down, the truck stays close behind her, flashing its high beams every few minutes. Terrified, she speeds home with the truck right on her tail and pulls into her driveway. She leaps out of her car and tries to run to her front door, but the truck driver gets out too, and he's holding a gun. He points the gun in her direction and shoots. The woman screams, but the bullet wasn't for her. She turns to see the body of a man fall out of the back seat of her car, clutching a butcher's knife. The shaken truck driver explains that he noticed the man in the back seat of her car and was trying to signal her. Every time the man raised his knife to stab her, he flashed his high beams.
Oh. See, your stories are very different from mine. Mm-hmm. 3 little ghosts. This is a really, really short one. There were 3 little ghosts sitting on posts, eating buttered toast. They had butter on their fists, running down their wrists. Butter on their sheets, running down their feet. What slobs? That's it.
I'm reading through. All right, so here we go. Oh no, that one's just another version of the hook, and we told the hook on another episode a while back. Okay, a guy had just moved to a new town in New Hampshire and was out with a hiking group he had recently joined as a way to make friends. He left his cell phone in the car as a way to connect with nature, and the group of 12 set off on a beautiful remote trail. An hour in, they passed a bathroom. The man asked the group to wait for him while he used it. When he came out, they were gone. He started down the trail alone to try and find the group, but hours were passing and it was getting darker. He started to get disoriented in the woods as the sun set, and eventually it was fully dark and he didn't know how to get back to the parking lot. Plus, he felt like something was watching him. Getting more and more freaked out, he finally spotted another bathroom and decided to stay inside for the rest of the night. The man tried to get some rest, but he soon heard the sound of someone weeping outside, getting closer and closer. Paranoid and scared, the man sprinted out of the bathroom and back into the woods. Running for what felt like miles, he somehow ended up back on the road where he had flagged down a car and got help. That was it.
The hell? The teeny tiny woman. Once there was a teeny tiny woman who lived all alone in a teeny tiny house. One day she went for a teeny tiny walk, and on that walk she came to a teeny tiny graveyard. And in that graveyard she saw a teeny tiny grave, and on that grave she found a set of teeny tiny teeth. "Look at those teeth," said the teeny tiny woman in her teeny tiny voice. "Just what I need." And then she popped them right into her teeny tiny mouth. And then she went home and took a teeny tiny nap. Soon she heard a teeny tiny voice calling, "Give me back my teeth. I want my teeth." She hid her teeny tiny head under her teeny tiny blanket and closed her teeny tiny eyes. But again the voice said, "Give me back my teeth. I want my teeth." This scared the teeny tiny woman so much she threw the teeny tiny teeth out her teeny tiny window. "Keep your teeny tiny teeth," said the teeny tiny woman. The teeny tiny voice shouted back, "And you keep your teeny tiny hands off my teeny tiny teeth." And then the teeny tiny woman heard teeny tiny footsteps run back to the graveyard.
So this next one is like legit nightmare fuel for a kid, okay?
Oh, Lord.
Borderline legit nightmare fuel for me.
Yeah.
A mother took her eager 3-year-old son to a fast food restaurant for lunch. The boy finished his lunch quickly and asked his mom if he could go play in the play area. The restaurant had a special little play area at the side with some tunnels, a slide, and a ball pit for kids filled with plastic balls. She watched as the boy crawled through the tunnels, went down the slide, and jumped into the ball pit. He jumped up and down on the brightly colored balls, dove into them, burrowed down under them, and then after about 10 minutes of playing, the boy all of a sudden stopped and began to cry loudly. The mother rushed to her son, picked him up, and asked him what was wrong. The little boy just wailed and pointed to his butt. His mother pulled down his pants and saw 2 little red marks on one of his butt cheeks. She thought he must have just sat on something sharp, but just to be sure, she took him to the hospital. The doctor examined the little boy in the emergency room and told the mother that the marks on her son's butt were a snake bite. The doctor gave the boy an antidote for the snake poison and kept him in the hospital overnight for observation. The next day, the mother's the boy's mother returned to the fast food restaurant to complain. She approached the counter and shouted at one of the teenagers who worked there. "My son was bitten by a snake in your ball pit," the woman screamed. "You should count yourself lucky, lady," said the teenager. "A kid got eaten by a shark in there last week."
Oh, Lord. Previewing. I'll just read this one. It's called A Dark and Stormy Night. Oliver always left his toys outside. On Saturday, Oliver's dad said, "Bring in your toys before bed." Oliver said, "I will, Dad." But Oliver forgot. It rained and Mighty Joe got wet. And now Mighty Joe was rusty. That's awfully fast. On Sunday, Oliver's mom said, "Bring in your toys before bed." Oliver said, "I will, Mom." But Oliver forgot. A cat came into the yard and chewed on Buddy Bear. Now Buddy was a one-eyed bear. On Monday, Oliver was sound asleep when, crack, the sound of thunder woke him up.
Do you want me to let her in?
Sure. Rain pounded against his window. Lightning lit up his room. Oliver's heart raced. "Oh no," he said, "I left my toys outside again." Oliver rushed to his window. He looked outside, but his toys were not there. Just then his bedroom door creaked open. Oliver's toys stood in the doorway. They looked wet and angry. Buddy's one eye glared at him. Oliver scrambled back in his bed. "I'm sorry," he cried. "It's too late for that," Mighty Joe yelled. "You left us."
Oh, no.
No, it was my hard drive.
Oh.
"You left us out in the rain for the last time." The toy slowly marched toward Oliver. Then the bedroom door slammed shut. Them toys killed him for leaving them. That feels like a parent wrote that. That got real tired of their kid leaving their shit outside.
Right. All right, here we go. So, man was walking home alone one dark and windy night. His path took him down a dark, deserted street that ran right by the local cemetery. As he passed the gates, he heard a strange noise in the darkness behind him. Not daring to look back, he quickened his pace, but the bumping noise continued behind him. He stopped and turned to see what it was. Coming down the road behind him was a coffin, standing on end, bumping from side to side. Bump, 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 bump. The man couldn't believe his eyes. Terrified, he turned and ran into the driving rain. Behind him, the coffin came faster. Bump, bump, bump. Ahead of him, there was a branch that had fallen from a tree. He reached down and grabbed it as he ran by. He turned and threw it at the coffin, but it just splintered, and the coffin continued chasing him faster and faster. Bumpity, bumpity, bumpity. The man turned the corner onto his street, and ran through his front gate, the coffin right behind him. The man dashed into the house, but the coffin crashed through the front door. The front of the coffin swung open, and the man glimpsed the horrible sight of a dead skeleton inside. He ran upstairs and he grabbed a shotgun off the wall display. Then he took aim and blasted the coffin with both barrels, but the shot bounced harmlessly off the coffin as it continued up the stairs. Bump, clomp, bump, clomp. The man, desperate, scared to death, jumped into the bathroom and locked the door, but he knew it would do no good. The coffin banged against the door, and suddenly the door exploded and the coffin came through it. Mm-hmm. In desperation, the man reached out his hand and grabbed the first thing he could reach. It was a bottle of cough syrup, and he threw it at the coffin, and the coffin stopped. She's trying to find another story to tell.
Yeah. The other one is a little bit more involved than I thought it was going to be. The ghost who carried the coffin. Lord Dufferin couldn't sleep. It wasn't the fact that he was away from home. His work as a British diplomat had taken him all over the world, and he was used to sleeping in strange beds. In fact, he felt quite comfortable in the huge castle-like home of his Irish friend. But for some reason, even though it was very late and he was very tired, sleep would not come. Finally, he got out of his bed, slipped on his robe, and walked over to the window. The night was clear, and the dew-covered lawns of the estate shimmered under the light of a full moon. It was a beautiful sight, and Lord Dufferin began to relax as he stood gazing out into the peaceful night. He was almost ready to go back to bed when he saw the strange little man stagger out of the shadows near the hedge. Lord Dufferin watched as the shadowy figure trudged into the moonlight and began struggling across the lawn. The man was staring intently at the ground, and on his back was a big black box. The box was obviously very heavy, for it seemed to be all the little man could do to carry it without falling over. Lord Dufferin wondered what could be inside the box. The man was clearly headed toward the house with it, but why? Perhaps he was making a delivery of some kind, but so late at night? And why did he insist on carrying such a heavy load alone? On and on the little man struggled with his burden until he was standing directly beneath Lord Dufferin's window. Still staring down at the ground, he caught his breath and shifted the box on his back. Then he turned his face up toward the window, and Lord Dufferin stepped back in horror. The man had the face of death. His eyes were sunk so deeply in his sockets they looked like two black holes. His skin was as pale as the white lace curtains around Lord Dufferin's window. The moonlight clearly illuminated his sharp, pointed nose, his sunken cheeks, and his rotted yellow teeth. It was a face Lord Dufferin knew he would never forget. The man fixed Lord Dufferin in his gaze for a long moment, then turned away from the house. He struggled back across the lawn toward the hedge and disappeared again into the shadows. Lord Dufferin stood frozen, staring out at the silent lawn. Now he knew what the little man had been carrying on his back. The moonlight had lit it clearly as he walked away from the window. Lord Dufferin's heart began to pound. The box was a coffin. Well, old fellow, that's quite a story. But I can assure you there are no ghosts here. Lord Dufferin's host poured himself another cup of tea. And no little men delivering coffins in the middle of the night either. Perhaps you fell asleep, dreamed you couldn't fall asleep, then dreamed you fell asleep after all. The other guests at the breakfast table laughed. Perhaps Lord Dufferin is trying to scare us all away so he can have your estate to himself for a while, said one, for I am sure he is the last person here to believe in ghosts. Lord Dufferin smiled and shook his head. It was true, he didn't believe in ghosts. Still, he knew what he had seen, and he knew he hadn't been dreaming. Maybe someday he would understand what it meant. I'm sorry, sir, the Paris elevators are a bit slow. The hotel manager looked anxiously around the lobby. And we're terribly crowded this morning because of your diplomatic conference. I'm sure it will be here soon. Lord Dufferin nodded and looked at his watch. The meeting was scheduled for 10 o'clock sharp on the 5th floor. It was already 10:05, and the lobby was still crowded with people waiting to get upstairs. Lord Dufferin hated being late, but there was nothing he could do. He could have taken the stairs. Give me the notes for my speech, he said to his secretary. We might as well go over them while we wait. Lord Dufferin's secretary fumbled in his briefcase for the notes, and the two men began discussing the points the ambassador intended to make in his address to the other diplomats. They were deep in conversation when the elevator finally arrived and opened its doors. Sir, the hotel manager tapped Lord Dufferin on his shoulder. Better hurry, sir. You don't want to be left behind. Lord Dufferin looked up from his notes to see that the elevator had already filled with people, and the operator was about to close the doors. Oh, yes, said Lord Dufferin. Coming. Sorry. Lord Dufferin hurried toward the crowded elevator, mumbling his apologies to the other passengers. He turned to the uniformed operator and was about to thank him for waiting when suddenly he stopped. Lord Dufferin stepped back. A sharp chill ran through his body. He turned ghostly pale, and his pulse began to race. Unable to speak, he grabbed his secretary's arm and gestured frantically for the elevator to go on without them. The doors closed, and Lord Dufferin took a deep breath. He turned to the hotel manager. Who "Who was that man?" he said, his voice shaking. "The man in the uniform operating the elevator." The hotel manager shook his head, puzzled by Lord Dufferin's strange behavior. "Why, I don't really know, sir. Our regular man is out today. We hired that gentleman as a temporary replacement. Why do you ask? Do you know him?" Lord Dufferin never answered. Before he could speak, a terrible clanging came from the direction of the elevator. The manager rushed towards the closed door as a series of loud bangs echoed through the lobby. There was an ear-piercing screech of metal scraping metal, then finally a crash that shook the whole hotel. No one in the lobby spoke a word as the noise of the crash died away. There was only one explanation for what had happened, and everyone knew what it was. The elevator's steel cable had snapped, and now the operator and all his passengers lay dead at the bottom of the shaft. Lord Dufferin looked up at the floor indicator above the elevator doors. The arrow was frozen a little to the left of the number 5. The cable must have broken just before the elevator reached the 5th floor, the floor where his meeting was to take place. Had he gotten on the elevator, Lord Dufferin would never have attended that meeting or any meeting ever again. Lord Dufferin didn't get on for one reason. When he saw the elevator operator's face, he recognized it as the face he had seen from the window the night he couldn't sleep. The face of the deathly little man with the heavy black box, the ghost who carried a coffin. Many people have premonitions of danger, but few are as dramatic as the events in this case. The facts were reported in the local papers, and the British Society for Psychical Research recorded the case. But Lord Dufferin was never able to discover the elevator operator's name or anything else about him. His grandson has stated that Lord Dufferin, though he never believed in ghosts, always insisted that the story was perfectly true. That was a lot longer than I anticipated.
This one. A rich man's wife became deathly ill the night before Christmas in 1798, so he called for the doctor. By the time the doctor arrived, his wife had died, or so it had seemed. Her husband was so grief-stricken that he locked himself in his room and did not attend the funeral the following day. The servants of the house carried the rich woman's body to the vicar, V-I-C-A-R, who, in a drunken stupor, held the ceremony quickly. The veil was drawn across her face, the stone lid lowered, and the iron grill locked. Just before the clergyman fell asleep later that night, he remembered the beautiful emerald ring on the finger of the woman he had laid to rest. Wanting the ring and thinking no one would find out, he went downstairs, unlocked the lid, opened it, and tried to pry off the ring. It wouldn't budge. He ran and brought back a file to cut the ring off her finger. When that did not work, he just severed her finger and pulled the ring off. As he left, he turned around to pick up the iron lid and screamed at the top of his lungs. He dropped the ring and ran. The woman had awakened, was moaning, and held her severed finger toward him with an evil smile on her face. Wearing nothing but her fine silk dress, the woman walked back into her home, knocked on the door, and rang the bell, but to no avail. The servants had all gone to sleep, for it was late on Christmas Eve. She lifted a heavy stone, threw it at her husband's window, and waited. He came to the window with a sorrowful look on his face. Suddenly, to her surprise, he yelled, "Go away! Why must you torture me so? Don't you know my wife just died? Let me mourn, and do not bother me again." With this, he shut the window. He did not realize that it was his wife that had thrown the rock at the window. She repeated her actions, again throwing a rock at the window. He opened it again, and she yelled to him, "I am no one but your so-called dead wife. Now come down here and open this door unless you'd like me to die a second time on our doorstep." "You're a ghost then?" he said to her. "No," she said. "Ghosts don't bleed. Now come down here before I catch my own death of cold." The man, with a joyous look on his face, came down to meet his wife and took her inside, where he called the doctor once more to tell him the news. Meanwhile, the clergyman ran home and up the stairs. In a state of fright, he hung himself from the rafters of his home. If he had only known that the woman only wanted to thank him, she had not died after all, but had gone into a coma. When he cut off her finger, the pain woke her up.
I think I'm gonna finish with, oh Lord, this one's kind of long. Well, maybe not. Okay. So, the last, this is going to be my last one. The Ghost of Abraham Lincoln. This was from the book The Headless Ghost, which was one of my favorites. So, let me see. Abraham Lincoln was a believer in psychical phenomena. Psychical phenomena. At his wife's request, he participated in several seances held at the White House, at which he tried to communicate with his dead son Willie. Though his attempts did not succeed, the mediums at these seances were in agreement that Lincoln definitely had psychical powers. One possible evidence of these powers may be the visions and dreams that haunted him. Once, while campaigning for the presidency, he was preparing to rest for a while when he happened to glance into a mirror and saw a double image of himself. One image was normal, but the other was pale and lifeless, like a dead man's, as he explained to his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln. Mary, who was even more inclined toward the supernatural than her husband, interpreted his vision to mean that he would be elected president twice, but that he would not live to the end of his second term of office. She was right. Less than a week before Booth's bullet put an end to his life, President Lincoln dreamed that he awoke to the sound of people crying. He rose in his dream, went downstairs, and searched from room to room for the source of the weeping. When he arrived at the East Room, he discovered a funeral platform draped in black, upon which rested a corpse wrapped in funeral garb. The face of the corpse was covered from view, and a large crowd of mourners were sobbing their hearts out in grief. "Who is dead?" Lincoln asked of a military guard standing nearby. "The president," the guard replied in Lincoln's dream. "He was killed by an assassin." At that point, President Lincoln related he woke up from his nightmare and could sleep no more that night. He had no way of knowing that, even as he related his dream to colleagues the following day. His dream would become reality in just 5 days' time. Equally ominous was the fact that on the very day of his assassination, Lincoln told his bodyguard that for the past 3 nights he had had the same dream that he would be assassinated. The bodyguard pleaded with the president to stay home that night, but Lincoln refused. He had promised his wife that they would go to the theater, he said, and besides, he was using the occasion to publicly celebrate the end of the long and bloody war. Thus it was that Abraham Lincoln fell prey to an assassin's bullet on April 14, 1865, only 5 days after the Civil War was ended. Did President Lincoln possess precognition, or the ability to see into the future through ESP? It seems that he might have thought he had such ability because he believed strongly in his dreams and visions. Once, while his wife Mary and son Tad were away from the White House, Lincoln wrote to warn her to watch Tad carefully because I had an unpleasant dream about him. Then there is the fact that Lincoln often told others of his conviction that he would not live long beyond the end of the Civil War, and he was prepared to leave for Ford's Theater with his wife on that fateful evening. He turned to his bodyguard, W.H. Crook, and said, "Goodbye." Crook thought this strange because Lincoln had never before said goodbye upon leaving for an evening engagement. He always said good night. Was that just a coincidence or a casual slip of the tongue? Or was it a hint that he actually knew or at least suspected what fate was awaiting for him at Ford's Theater? Like most of us, Abraham Lincoln was a man of habit, and as a politician, he seldom misused words or misstated himself. He always chose his words carefully, Mr. Crook wrote in his memoirs. So if he said goodbye rather than his customary good night, he must have meant it as a statement of farewell rather than one of casual parting. What I want to know is why his bodyguard didn't go with him.
I was kind of wondering the same thing. That seems a little
sus. It is likely that no ghost has ever appeared to as many persons in high places, whether royalty or elected government officials, as that of Abraham Lincoln. at least 3 presidents, 2 presidents' wives, and I mean, this book is relatively old, so I don't know about any recent presidents, but at least 2 presidents' wives and 1 queen have had encounters with the ghost of our 16th president. So Ulysses S. Grant, who was the 18th president, never spoke of having seen Lincoln's ghost, but many of his staff and White House personnel related tales of seeing or hearing Lincoln and his son Willie, especially in the corridors of the 2nd floor, as the employees performed their White House duties. President Grover Cleveland heard strange rapping sounds in the night. Imagine Lincoln is just in there like singing Lose Yourself by Eminem.
Oh my God, the fact that that's the song that you chose, because I was literally about to say knees weak, arms are heavy.
The bodyguard reportedly, wait a minute, he heard these sounds. Hold on, I lost my line. Oh, and President Benjamin Harrison was his bodyguard, and his bodyguard were awakened late at night by thumping sounds in Lincoln's bedroom or from the hallway outside of Lincoln's bedroom. The bodyguard reportedly attended a seance at which the ghost identified itself as that of Abraham Lincoln.
Get it together.
Sightings of Lincoln's ghost began with Grace Coolidge, the wife of Calvin Coolidge, our 30th president. Mrs. Coolidge saw the silhouette or shadow of Lincoln outlined against the backdrop of a window in the Oval Room, where he often had been known to stand, deep in thought, gazing out over the countryside. But perhaps the most famous encounter with Lincoln's ghost occurred during an official state visit to the United States in 1945 by Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands. While staying with President and Mrs. Franklin D. Roosevelt at the White House, the Queen was awakened one night by the sound of someone walking noisily back and forth in the hallway outside her bedroom, which was known as the Lincoln Room. It had once been the Lincoln's bedroom. As she tried to clear her mind of sleep, there came a knocking at her bedroom door. Upon opening the door, she found herself facing President Lincoln, who was dressed in a long coat and top hat. The Queen promptly fainted, and when she awoke, she was lying on the floor and Lincoln was gone. Later, when Queen Wilhelmina related her experience to President Roosevelt, he expressed a little surprise. He explained that his wife Eleanor had had strange experiences when she worked late into the night, sitting at her desk in her room that once had been Lincoln's bedroom. Mrs. Roosevelt had sometimes sensed Lincoln's presence standing beside or behind her. Whenever she turned around, no one was there, but she still felt his presence with her. As she once said, when people live as hard as do the occupants of the White House, it is reasonable to assume that in death, their spirits would want to continue to inhabit the place where they lived. Though Mrs. Roosevelt never actually saw or heard Lincoln's ghost, she had heard a good deal about it. Once, as she was sitting alone in her study, a maid named Mary Eben burst into the room without warning, and the maid's face was wild with excitement. "He's up there, sitting on the edge of the bed, taking off his shoes," she cried. "Who's up where, taking off his shoes?" the First Lady asked in surprise. "Mr. Lincoln," the maid answered breathlessly. Hers was not an isolated instance either, as during FDR's long term as the nation's 32nd president, there were numerous reports from White House personnel of having seen President Lincoln either sitting or laying on his bed or standing by the same oval window where Grace Coolidge had seen him some years earlier. President Theodore Roosevelt believed that Lincoln's ghost still occupied the White House. He said that he had often felt Lincoln's presence with him when he was there by himself. Although most presidents have been reluctant to discuss their encounters with ghosts in the White House, Harry Truman showed no qualms. An outspoken, practical man, Truman saw no need to justify his belief in ghosts haunting the White House. He had experienced them, so they were there. It was as simple as that. and he acknowledged openly that on several occasions he had heard someone knocking at his door late at night, only to find no one there when he opened it. And when a visitor to the White House complained of hearing ghostly sounds in the night, Truman remarked it must have been Abe. And then once, right before a live television audience, President Truman said that he had heard a knock at his bedroom door and answered it at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and there wasn't anybody there. I think it must have been Lincoln's ghost walking the hall. And although he later publicly changed his mind about the sounds having been caused by a ghost, he also confessed that on numerous occasions he had heard similar, unusual, and unexplained noises. That's it. I'm done. I'm tired of reading.
All right. I got 3 kind of shorter ones left. All right. So once upon a time, there was a 10-year-old girl who lived in London in a very old house. She hated the house. It was cold and damp all the time. Plus, none of her friends would visit because it was believed by everyone in the neighborhood that a ghost lived in the house. The little girl was curious about the ghost, but nobody would talk to her when she asked questions about it or the history of the house. The house was scary, and some nights were worse than others. One night, when she was in her room reading, the lamp suddenly went off. She thought the light bulb had died. She didn't want to bother her mother because she was already asleep. So she didn't want to bother her mother to ask for another light bulb because she was already asleep. So she put down her book and prepared to go to sleep herself. All of a sudden, there was a quiet knocking on the window next to her bed. She saw the reflection of a boy about her age reflected in the window glass. The girl turned to look in her room but saw nothing. She got out of bed and went over to her lamp. She felt something wet on the ground. She flicked on the lamp, which now worked, and saw a red stain where she was standing. Then it disappeared. It wasn't blood because the red was too bright, almost pink, like paint. She scratched at the purple wall of her room, and believe it or not, behind the purple paint was pink, the same dark shade that had been on the floor. The girl ran out of her room toward her parents' room, but then she saw something that made her open her mouth to scream, but no sound came out. The attic door was right above her staircase, really high up. Only her dad could reach it. Hanging from it was a noose. So then the girl ran back to her room, and there was a body in her bed. She grabbed her phone to take a picture. She wanted proof. She wanted to know in the morning if what she saw was a dream or real. She took a picture of her bed and without looking at it, ran to get her mother. Grumpily, her mother came up the stairs. The girl pointed to where the noose had been, but now it was just a piece of string from her mother's sewing kit. She led her mother up to her room to show her the child's body, but now there was nothing. As her mother turned to leave the room, the girl remembered the camera. She grabbed it and turned it on, showing it to her mother. There was no longer a photo of her bed. Instead, there was a photo of a teenage boy with a red mark around his neck and pink paint all over his torn clothes. Her mother told her to stop joking around. However, her mother had an extremely worried look on her face when the little girl asked what was wrong, she said, "He's back." The little girl never saw the boy again, and her mother refused to tell her who he was. Okay, so this one's kind of sad, actually. A married couple fought a great deal and finally began talking about getting a divorce. However, the wife soon discovered she was pregnant, and for the sake of the baby, they decided to give the marriage another try. Mistake number 1. The boy was born and the family had a short period of tranquility. Before long, the old problems resurfaced and the father and mother were fighting all the time. One night, when the boy was about 5 years old, the couple put the boy to bed and they got into an enormous fight. In a fit of rage, the father put his hands around the wife's neck and choked the life out of her. Eventually, when he realized what he had done, he began to panic. He knew he had to get rid of the body if he wasn't going to get caught. He bundled the body into the boot of his car. Obviously, this is not from America. And drove out of town to a swamp. Where's his kid this whole time? Right. He took the body from the car, but rigor mortis had started to set in and it was difficult to carry it. He slung his wife's body across his back as if he were giving her a piggyback ride and waded out into the foul-smelling swamp. He let her go and watched the stiff hands and wretched face recede into the murky swamp water. The man went home and got in the shower to clean up. but he couldn't get rid of the foul stench of the swamp. The smell made him sick to his stomach, and no matter how hard he scrubbed or how often he showered, he could not get rid of the smell. It followed him wherever he went. As days passed, the boy became anxious for his mother and asked all kinds of questions. The father would just tell the boy that his mother had gone to stay with relatives. The smell remained, though. The man began to ignore it as much as he could. One day, the man noticed his son was looking at him in a strange way. Every time he approached his son, the little boy would recoil in horror and wouldn't let the father touch him. One day, he walked into his child's room as he was playing on the floor. "Son, there seems to be something bothering you. Is there something you want to say to me?" "Yes, Father." "Is it about your mother?" "Yes." "What is it?" "Why is Mommy's face so pale?" "What do you mean?" "Why do you give her a piggyback ride every day?" So the body, never fully let go, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then the last one. A recently married couple were on a long road trip through the heart of the United States. One night it was raining hard, and the headlights of their car flashed across a bearded man on the side of the road hitchhiking. Not usually one for picking up hitchhikers, the husband stopped and pulled over to offer the guy a lift because the weather was so bad. The man thanked the husband and climbed in the back of the car. He seemed agitated and edgy, barely speaking a word for the whole journey. Eventually, the couple dropped him off where he asked at a crossroads. The rain was still coming down in sheets. The couple drove on for a good while, and to pass the time, the husband turned on the radio. The couple heard a news report about an escaped lunatic considered very dangerous who should not be approached by any circumstances. The description matched the hitchhiker, and the couple looked at each other, clearly shocked but happy nothing bad had occurred. Just then, the car gave out, and no amount of keying the ignition would make it start again. The husband tells his wife to stay in the car while he sets off through the rain to try to get help, and the woman locks the door and listens to the radio, and wants to listen to the radio, but the car battery seems dead. Eventually, she dozes off. A while later, she wakes up to seeing flashing police lights through the water coming down on the windshield, and a voice through a loudspeaker. "Lady, open the door, get out of the car, and run towards us as fast as you can. Do it now." The woman's confused, but she gets out of her car with her hands above her head. "Run and don't look back," orders the police officer. But the woman is curious and turns. In the flashing blue lights of the police car and illuminated by flashes of lightning, she sees the top of the car where the hitchhiker with a machete is hacking at the dismembered corpse of her husband. Blood is streaming down the sides of the car. She screams and faints as a flurry of gunshots ring out.
No.
That's all I got.
Ooh, brother. Ooh.
All right, so I have the nonprofit on this one, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't know. I didn't write it down this time.
So I've got the Don't Be a Monster, which is a bullying prevention campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Don't Be a Monster is a nationally recognized 501c3 nonprofit organization that works alongside haunted attractions in the U.S. to bring a message of bullying prevention to students 4th through 10th grade. After a multi-year hiatus due to COVID-19, it has been difficult to reestablish our platform to the extent we had it in 2019. Therefore, we have taken a long look at how we can make the strongest impact and have landed on a refreshed DBAM Foundation program, which is the Don't Be a Monster. Mm-hmm. Our goal and vision remain the same: to work towards a world where kindness is empowering and uniqueness is celebrated. Our adjustment is in how we are managing our outreach. Don't Be a Monster will be raising funds to support vetted programs that we find to be making a true impact. Our team is diving into financial records to ensure every dollar is used to its fullest extent to bring a message of love and acceptance to schools and children everywhere. This year's benefactor is the Cyber Smile Foundation. It's a multi-award-winning nonprofit organization committed to digital well-being and tackling all forms of bullying and abuse online. That one is founded in 2010. Cyber Smile is founded in 2010 and has grown to become one of the world's leading anti-cyberbullying and digital well-being nonprofit organizations. So this nonprofit helps other nonprofits that have the same goal.
Gotcha. That's cool.
DBAM's goal is to raise $30,000 for CyberSmile to create bespoke educational modules that will allow haunted attractions to host their own presentations again, and for all haunt and Halloween lovers to have programming that speaks directly to them. And so, in case you didn't know, October is National Bullying Prevention Awareness Month.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The goal is to have resources available for haunted attractions to host assemblies during the Halloween season, which is, obviously late September through early November. Each assembly is presented by a local DBAM partnering haunted attraction. With them is our mascot, Frank, who teaches kids to celebrate our differences. And then also, if you know someone or you yourself own a local haunt, well, I'll say local to literally anywhere, there's a email address that you can reach out to partner with them.
Nice.
So, but their mission is to educate and empower youth to stand up for themselves and their peers by building a community where everyone is included no matter their differences. So, I thought that was pretty cool. We heavily preach in my house against bullying.
Yeah.
Especially against kids who are different.
Yeah.
And to speak up and stand up for those who are getting bullied.
Yeah.
I think that my oldest is a bully.
Oh, no.
Which I find funny because she gets bullied.
Yeah.
Quite often.
I mean, that's probably why.
Well, true. But like at the beginning of the school year, she had all these little friends all these little girls that she thought were her friends. And then they all literally told her that they weren't really her friend. They talked shit about her behind her back.
Yeah.
So she was real upset about it.
Teenagers are mean.
Man.
Kids are mean.
We were bullies too, so I don't want,
I mean, yeah, that's true. But
only to one person.
Yeah.
I wasn't a bully to anybody else. And I'm going to tell you right now, I was like the first person to go hang out in the special education room.
Yeah.
I
was never mean to anybody with special needs. I was only mean to that one girl.
I was never mean to anybody that was gay.
True.
Or different.
True.
Just to that one girl.
Yeah.
And let's be real. I'm not even going to go there. I'm 35 years old. Let it go. I'm 35 years old. I still see this person out like all the time. Anytime that I have to go to the high school for any reason, she's there.
I ain't laid eyes on her in years.
I don't know why she's there. Her children are not old enough to be there. So I don't know whose child.
She's got a new husband, I think. A little redheaded man.
Oh.
Yeah. Maybe he's got kids.
I don't know, but she's always there. And like her mom was there this last time too.
Oh, that's weird. I was wondering about her.
Doesn't she have a sister?
She has a sister.
Does her sister have kids that would be household age?
Maybe, yeah. But her sister, the last I knew, her sister didn't even live around here. She lived in Nashville somewhere.
Well, I mean, something might be going on with her, and they may have custody of her kids. So
maybe
because I don't know that there's been any other adults.
I think there was some usage in the past. But any hoodle.
Can I share this controversial?
Oh Lord, what is it?
Meme that my sister just sent me.
What?
It's I'll let you look at it before I read it out. Share it or no?
I mean...
So it says, Jesus promised the end of all wicked people. Odin promised the end of all frost giants. I don't see any frost giants around.
I mean...
I've also never seen you and Superman in the same room. So
exactly.
And you don't know, I could be a Power Ranger. You don't know. Maybe I'm the pink Power Ranger. I'm not as hot as she was.
But yeah.
All right. Share us out.
Yeah.
Find us on the socials. Facebook.
Instagram.
TikTok.
I think I'm going to get rid of X. I don't think it's doing anything for us.
You can also now find us on YouTube.
Yes, we're on YouTube
audio
now.
Only.
Yeah, it's audio only, but they're automatically uploaded.
But listen, hear us out.
And if you have YouTube Premium, you can close your phone, or if you you can cast it to your TV and Like, play it while you're cleaning the house.
There you go.
Or whatever. So,
hear us out. We've been in debate, discussion, talking about possibly monetizing this stuff in the near future. And not for greedy purposes, but to make this a better situation, to make this better for y'all.
Yeah.
Now, will it be nice if we get a little extra cushion money for the pockets?
That'd be nice.
Absolutely. Would it be amazing if we made enough to where I could quit my job and podcast full time and make it even better?
Yeah.
Positively, but I don't foresee that happening.
No.
But a girl can dream. Get us big enough to where we can do a collab episode with Shane Dawson. That's all I'm asking. Act like you wouldn't love that.
Yeah, I guess.
Is he too much for you?
I mean, I don't know. That'd be an intimidating experience.
I would love every second of it.
But, I mean, mostly I just want us to have a little studio.
That's our main goal, is to get a little studio going. Also, I think it would be cool to be able to add a video aspect to it.
Yeah. And I think having our own little studio would be able to do that. Because not that my office isn't a lovely backdrop for it, but...
It's busy. It's really busy.
Well, it's not even that. I don't think there's room. Like, we wouldn't be able to get out of here if we had a camera set up.
We would have to, like, mount it up there somehow.
Yeah, like, I would have to put a tripod on my desk over there.
Right. But, so, we would like to do that. Also, if we were able to have cameras and stuff, you guys could go right along with us tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And we're going hunting tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Not tomorrow night when you guys are listening.
Maybe I can record some audio clips or something.
I started to say, I told somebody yesterday that that's what we were doing, and they were like, y'all should record the conversations y'all have, like,
or
in the car
even
and stuff.
like,
and I'm like,
record some TikToks maybe.
I'm gonna act like Zach Bagans.
Please do. I might have to watch an episode so I know how, like, his little cohorts act.
You can be Aaron. Which means you get to be left alone a lot.
Lord.
I'm gonna verbally attack everything and then leave you alone with them. But yeah, no, I was told to record our conversations in the car, at least, and post those. And I'm like, nobody wants to hear that.
Hey, you never know. Maybe we can make us a little YouTube video.
Remember how when we were younger, we used to say that we should have cameras following us around all the time?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Anyway, email us at wandersweird@gmail.com. All right, guys. I have to pee. I'll talk to you guys next week.
Sayonara.
Hey, bye.
Bye-bye.